God damn.
Progress.
Hi everyone, I hope you all can hear me. Please confirm in the chat box if you can. Great, thank you very much. So in the interest of time, I think we can just get started as we wait for the rest of them. The rest of them will join us as we go on. So this is what we'll be covering today. So we'll start with introductions, then we'll go into the workshop, and then we'll do an overview of our software engineering course. Then we'll also have a Q&A session. So I'll start with introducing any person from Moringa who's here. I can see 3 of us, but if you're here and you're from Moringa, also feel free to unmute yourself. So I'll just start with introducing myself, and then I'll pass it to my colleague, Steve Biko. So my name is Agnes. I work in the marketing team. I'm in the product marketing department, and software engineering is actually one of my babies. So passionate about software engineering, and I'm happy to have everyone here. I hope we can learn 1 or 2 things. So keep the workshop very engaging. I hope to see a lot of questions from the audience. And my assumption is that if you're here, you are a beginner, or you're just curious to know more about Moringa. So we are happy to have you all here, and welcome. So I'll pass the ball to you, Biko, to introduce yourself and what you do at Moringa.
Thanks, Agnes. Mic check. Please let me know if you can hear me.
Yeah, you sound like you're a bit far. If you can come closer to the mic.
All right, just give me a second. How is my audio right now?
Better. Go on now.
All right, thank you. Hi everyone. As you've heard, my name is Steve Biko. I work at Moringa in the marketing team. I am an events manager here at Moringa. So all I do is plan and host community events. Yeah, that's all about me. I guess if you're a repeat person in our workshop, you've seen me, or you've seen me around in community events and other Moringa events. Yeah. Let me pass it on to you, Diana.
Okay, I think we can stop there. Given that Diana will be our speaker today, I'm sure she'll have a chance to introduce herself. So just to save time, and because I know most of you are interested to get directly into the workshop, because that's the main agenda of the call or the meeting we have today, I'll just pass it directly to Diana to start with an icebreaker and then get into the workshop, just to make sure that we maximize the time we have. So Diana, if you can hear me, please confirm.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. I'll stop sharing my screen, and then you can share yours for ease of movement through the slides.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Now you can share yours.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
I hope my screen is visible. Can confirm on the chat box.
Yes, we can see your screen, so it's okay to move on.
Okay. So, hi everyone. Welcome to this session. Welcome to Moringa School. I am Diana Mongina. I am a software engineer and also a technical mentor at Moringa School.
Diana, sorry to interrupt. Could you share the slides? I can see the Zoom screen, but do you mind sharing the slides? Okay, there you go.
Okay. Give me a second. Let me reshare my screen. Um, can you see my screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Anyone can?
Yes.
Okay. So, um, our icebreaker has answers on them, but I can just have a random icebreaker just to break the ice between us. Maybe 2 to 3 people can, or 5 people max, can tell us um, what they're grateful about today. Just random. Can have 5 people. Anyone can go, or I can just pick a few. So, are you willing to go, or I pick? Maybe I can start with Ezekiel Ngeno. How are you? How have you been today, and what are you grateful for today?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm happy to join this conversation about web development and expecting more from Moringa. We are more from Moringa School. Thank you.
Okay, we can have Geoffrey. Hi, Geoffrey. Ryan, please mute your microphone. Okay, since Geoffrey is not near his microphone, we could have Evans. I see you have unmuted. I'm not sure if you want to tell us something. Manoti Evans.
No, I don't have anything to say.
You can tell us how your day was and what you're grateful for today.
It was good. What you're grateful of is having another day of doing challenges that can assist us in our lives. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe you can have a lady. Yes, James Dungu.
So, hello everyone. I
Hello.
am James. I am James. I am a continuing student of software engineering at Moringa, the fourth cohort, the cohort that started studying on fourth. So far, we are finding it a little bit enjoyable, a little bit challenging, but we are coping and we are doing fine.
Okay, that is interesting. Thank you for sharing. You can have Vivian tell us how they are feeling and what they are grateful for. Hi, Vivian. Women in tech. Um, what about Mary? Hi, Mary. Are you willing to speak? Or Janet or Sharon? Okay, I'll assume maybe they're not near their screen or their microphones, or they can't speak. So I'll just get into what our agenda is, so that we can utilize our time to the maximum. Basically, our icebreaker was this was supposed to be our icebreaker, but we have our answers here. The first question is, what two words every programmer learned to code first? Of course, hello world. What language is designed to make programmers happy? Ruby. What did programmers learn to program? Where did programmers, at least 90% of programmers use Stack Overflow to learn, but you can learn through various platforms. There's W3 Schools, there's Free Code Camp, YouTube. Just depends on who you are and what is your preference. People prefer audio, others prefer um, just reading documentation. So some people can use documentations to just get to start learning different languages. And what is the biggest lie in computer programming? HTML is a programming language. No, it's not a it's kind of programming language, but it's not really, because it is just used to create the web structure of uh, of a website. So yeah, I'm a software engineer and a technical mentor at Moringa School. So we'll get right into it. If you have any question, you can write it on the chat box, or you can raise your hand, then I'll get to answer your questions. I hope you get to learn new concepts today and you participate in this conversation. We are both learning, so feel free to ask and answer questions if there are any.
Hey
Okay.
Diana, please go
Yes.
into slideshow mode.
Okay. So basically what you're going to cover today is introduction to web development. You'll just get to deep dive into what web development is, what are the basics of web development, and there are things that involve web development. We'll get to understand the basics of a terminal, what is a terminal, and how a terminal can help us easily navigate when we are trying to build something. We are also going to learn about Git and GitHub and how we use Git and GitHub when we're creating our projects. Then we'll build an authentication flow using Man. Man is basically Mongo, Express.js, Node.js, and React. But we might only do the front end bit, which is React. I can give some guidance on the back end. If time allows, we can do that. Then we can deploy our project to maybe Vercel or something else. Okay, so introduction. What is web development? Web development is basically designing, developing, and maintaining a website. Any it's a very versatile topic. If you are an aspiring or already in the field, I believe that you have heard this term everywhere. Every software engineer talks about web development. Every someone that is aspiring to become, they can Google to just understand what is web development, what does it entail, what does it look into. I believe everyone that is looking to start something, they have to get into the depths of understanding what it really entails before they can venture into it. So web development is just the designing, the testing, and the developing of a website. A website can include maybe Moringa School. When you just Google Moringa School, um, let's do that. I'll just use this. this is our website. It's our website for Moringa School that basically anyone that is interested in joining Moringa School or wants to just understand what is Moringa School, what does this company or organization do, they can just Google and they'll get to see this is an ed tech company that mainly teaches people on software engineering, data science, and other courses just to do with technology. When you want to understand what they do, this is the about page, what financial aid they offer, about their corporate, what they do in the corporate world, and just a community. You can have they have different blogs and events. So this entire thing is just the website. That is what web development entails: creating, designing, and developing and maintaining a website. A website basically gives people an insight of what your organization does. And it is very crucial for any organization or any business to have a website because it will make your users or the people that are interested in buying something that you offer, the product that you offer, to easily get to know what you do and what you offer to them, so that instead of they have to go to where you work, or if it is Moringa, you have to go to Westlands or Ngong Road to just inquire about something. You can easily find it on their website. So basically, that is what a web a web web development is. And we have the basics of web development. We have to become a web or to build on web development. There are three main basics. You have to understand what HTML is, which is just the structure of a website. The structure, whatever a website contains. That is what HTML is, the hypertext markup language that defines or creates or builds the web structure and its content. I will illustrate that in the Moringa website. Then we have the CSS, which basically is the styling of that web page or that web structure that you have created. The styling, if you add colors to maybe the logo, if you add a font to a header, if you add a color to a button where people can click and apply something, that is basically styling of that website. And JavaScript is a language that allows you to add interactivity in your website. Okay, so I'll still use the Moringa website to just illustrate what I have just said. I've said we are talking about the basics of web development. This is HTML. Whatever is here, courses, about, financial aid, community, corporate, all these all this web content that is you can see on this website is what HTML is. It has been created by HTML basically. These wordings that you see on this website. Now, the way we see some fonts are bigger and some fonts are smaller. The colors that we see in different headers, the the colors that we see in different buttons, there are different buttons in this field. You see this button, this button, you can apply here. These colors that you see, that is what is called the styling. Styling is basically what the user can see that is appealing, that makes them, oh, I want to see what this website is really about. Now the interactivity, what allows me to be able to click this button and actually apply for this course called cybersecurity is what is called JavaScript. So you can easily apply. That is the interactivity in a website. Those are the basic features uh, web web development. You have to know, you have to understand them. You have to know, how do I use HTML, how do I use CSS, and how do I use JavaScript. Not sure if someone has a question.
There's a question on what is the difference between web development and software development.
Okay, you can help me unmute someone that has mute someone that unmutes themselves. What's the difference between software development and web development? Software development is a general term. You can build both mobile and you can build web. Like, it is general, but web is mainly websites. Whatever is on the website, on the browser, because if it comes to mobile, you only use them on your phones, your iPads, and all that. So software development is a general term where you can either be a mobile developer or a software engineer. You just build any software. It could be mobile and it could be web. But web development specifically is used for browsers. Yeah, and thank you, Abdullah, for answering the questions in the chat. Okay, so here we get to, in the next section, we'll get to understand what really are the types of web development that we have. We have three main web development types of web development. We can be you can be a front-end developer, you can be a back-end developer, or you can be a full stack developer. So we'll start with the front end. What does a front-end developer does? A front-end developer mainly creates the visual part of a website. Whatever you see when you log in into Moringa School or when you log in into Jumia, whatever you're able to see in that website is what the front end develop developers do. They create or they design and develop the layout of a website, the visual parts of our website, whatever a client can come to your website and look at. Then we have the backend development or developers who are the core drivers of any application. It could be mobile, it could be website, because they mainly create the functionality of a website. The front end mainly depends on the back end to allow functionality or user experience in a website. They're the ones that allow you to log in, sign up in a website. They're the ones that allow you to purchase something from a website. They're the ones that allows you to order something from Glovo or any other website that you can use. They're the ones that allow you to apply even for the course in Moringa. So that functionality is mainly built on the back end. Then the front end will consume whatever API or data is given by the backend developers so that they can implement and ensure that the website that they create is either user friendly and has a smooth user experience. Then we have the full stack. Full stack development is basically now a combination of both. You become a front end and a back end. So you'll build a website from scratch to finish. You'll start with the front end, maybe if that is what you prefer, or you can start with the back end if that is what you prefer. But you'll build everything. You'll create the visual part, you'll create the functionality, and we'll integrate them together and come up with a whole website. And I believe that is the most common right now because you become a holistic developer because now you are able to understand this is exactly what is happening in the back end and this is exactly what is happening in the front end, and you can be able to easily scale that website wherever it's needed to be scalable. and even the website becomes more efficient because there's that connection between the back end and the front end. But again, you can always be a front end engineer if anything to do with visual is more appealing to you, and you can also be a back end engineer if you like creativity and solving problems, because that is mostly what the backend involves. You have to be a problem solver. You have to understand how I can add a dot to this website and it works properly. Like you have to get the logic of the website. Yeah, so you can choose which path works for you, or you can become a full stack developer. Um, So lastly, here we're going to learn about website development process. So I'm assuming you want to maybe solve a problem in your community. Everywhere we go, everywhere we are, there's always a problem that we can solve. We can have maybe your neighbor doesn't have, okay, or yourself, you don't have a proper means of getting water to your house, and you can come up with a solution to that. Maybe you can create a website that allows you to book water if your water has come. Umemaliza maji. Sorry, you can't hear. You don't hear Swahili, but if your water is completed, you can book water to come to your place. So that is a problem. So when you come up with a problem, you find a solution to that problem. You can research more, you can ask your mentors, you can come up with different scenarios through understanding how other people solve their own problems. That is through research. So the first step of web development is maybe identifying a problem, then coming up with a solution, then doing more research about the solution that you have. Is it viable to the market? How is it going to help the people that you're creating the solution to? And the many factors that come with coming up with a product, you're going to do more of research on it. Then after you have done with the research, you come now, you design the layout of that application. How is this application of product going to look like? Is it going to look, will it have blue? Is the theme going to be blue? Is the styling going to be this? How are the cards going to look like? What are the pixels that I'm going to use throughout that process? So that is how web development process works. So you design the layout. After designing the layout, you now develop the application itself by writing the code base. Right, you can write the front end first, then you can write the back end, then you can integrate whatever data or endpoints you have from the back end and connect it to the front end. Then now you're doing that, you deploy it, then you allow the users that you are targeting to use the product that you have, so that you are able to know if this product is really viable in the market. What is the supply and the demand of the product in the market? Are people responding to it? What are the bugs that I have not solved? Because you could come up with a product, you assume everything is working, but if the users start using it, you find that everything is broken. They can't log in, they can't sign up, they can't activate their accounts. There are many challenges that come with deploying and testing your application with real users. So that is also a process in the web development. But when you go through all that, you'll be able to now understand this is where I stand with my product, this is what I can improve, and this is what needs changes. Yeah. So up to there, is there any question that you have? Anyone with a question? What are the trending programming languages used in front end? It's mostly JavaScript, so you can either use the library, React, Next.js, Angular. But yeah, mostly JavaScript, because all those frameworks and libraries are related to JavaScript. So JavaScript. Anyone else with a question? Thank you, Dolphin, for helping in answering the questions. Okay, maybe I can continue. Okay, so in the next part, maybe we'll get to understand how, before you start anything, you start building an application, you have to understand what are the prerequisites that you need to know. You have to know how to work with a terminal so that you can easily navigate in your project. So the first thing is, so those that me, I use Linux. Others could be using Ubuntu or Mac. If you're using Mac, it's just the same, but if you're using Windows, it is Ubuntu, Windows, and Mac. So if you're using Windows, it is command prompt, and if you're using Mac, I believe it's the terminal. So when you open your terminal, there are various commands that will help you to easily move around when you're coming up with a project. So the main ones that I want us to learn is just the list. The list command helps you to know where to list whatever items are there in whatever location you are in your computer. So if you do the ls command and you enter, you'll understand that in your home, I believe this is home. Forget about the syntax error. I don't know why I named my computer like that, but yeah, syntax error is just an error in JavaScript that you get when you are not respecting the syntax of the language. There are different types of errors in programming language, in programming. Okay, so here we are in the home. The location is called home. And in my home, I have these items. I have the documents, the desktop, and all those. So if I want to navigate to either of these items, I use a command called cd document. Maybe I want to navigate into documents, or I want to navigate into downloads. I can just write cd then downloads. You see now it has taken me to downloads. So right now I am on downloads. If I list the items that are on downloads, I can easily see them. These are the documents that I have downloaded. Yeah. So after that, you can easily create a folder in downloads. Maybe you want to start learning to start creating your first application, and you want to name it to create it in a different folder or in a common folder, so that every time you want to create a project, that is where you will always go to. So maybe our folder, we want to create a new folder in downloads called projects, Moringa projects. So you just write make directory. CD means creating a directory in a specific location. LS listing the items in a location. Make directory or mkdir just depends with where you land. Mkdir means make a directory in this specific location. So we just creating a folder in a specific location. So you want to create a folder called projects, this in downloads. Then you want to navigate to this project folder so that you are able to build a project from that point. You do cd project. You see now we had navigated to downloads. We have created a new folder called project, and now we have navigated to projects. So now we are in a location called projects within downloads. Then now we want to create a file. Maybe you want just to create an index.html to just try and build hello world. So how do we create a file within the terminal? Just write touch index.html or index.js or index. HTML is an extension that helps the computer know that this is a HTML file. This if you want to use JavaScript, you write index.js, which will tell the computer this is a JavaScript file. And CSS, you write index.css or anything, any name, as long as it has an extension of whatever you want to write. It could be HTML, it could be CSS, it could be JS. So it has to have that extension so that the computer will be able to know when it compiles, this is a HTML file, this is a CSS file, this is a JavaScript file. So touch index.html, we have created a file. So when you do a list to see what is within the project folder, it will give you index.html. So being able to understand how these commands, they may look very simple, but they are very crucial in building your projects. They help you easily navigate through your project and set up something that you want to work on. So you also need to have an editor. So how do you, personally I use VS Code. VS Code is the most common used editor for developers, but there are other different editors that you can use. So if you want to now go to your editor to start coding, you just write code dot get R to ensure that that is the only project that opens. Then you enter and it will take you to VS Code. Voila, you have created your first file. You can create a HTML tag. So this is just an extension that helps you to easily write code. That's not really important, but I can just do the hello world and you get to see what we are talking about. So when you go live, we have our hello world here. So basically that is how you use the terminal to easily navigate and create a project folder for your application. It's very necessary to just know those basic commands. They will help you easily navigate even in your work, in your building. Yeah. Uh, could you suggest a roadmap for those interested in full stack? I can share, I think I have a roadmap, but you can also check roadmap.io. It gives you a clear roadmap for all tech related project management, product design, everything. Uh, what's the difference between a framework and a library? Libraries target a specific functionality, while a framework tries to provide everything required to develop a complete application. Yeah, so I think thank you everyone that is helping in answering the question. Anyone who has a question up to that point? Anyone with a question? Are we good? We can use, I believe we have some reactions. We have them. Yeah, we have reactions. You can give up if you are good to go. Use the reactions to just do a thumbs up so that I know we are together. Yes, we are. I only see one reaction. Are we together? C4. Okay, Tracy, I will repeat that. Okay, so I assume we are all together. If you have any question, please feel free to answer, to ask on the chat box or raise your hand. So Tracy, this is how you access your VS Code from the terminal. Just write code dot negative r. That's that. When you enter, it will directly take you to the VS Code. Is that clear, Tracy? Okay. You're welcome. So now, um, the next part is we'll get to look at command GitHub. Just get to understand how GitHub works. Then I'll just do a quick brush into GitHub because it's a lot and most people are here for the project, so I want to get into the project. So I'll just brush through GitHub to help you just understand what GitHub is because we'll still use GitHub even when we create the project. So I don't want people to float tukifika hapo. So we have to understand what Git is first, and we also have to understand what GitHub is for those who are just beginning and they have never been in a class for software engineering. Maybe they don't have an idea what GitHub is, and for those who know, you can also chip in. And then we'll get to the installation, what we'll need in our project, then we'll move now into creating the project itself. So basically, what is GitHub? GitHub is a remote storage where developers or data scientists, anyone who is creating something can store their code for either future reference, for future updates, or for people out there to be able to see what they are working on. So basically GitHub ni storage. It's a storage for people to be able to access whatever you're working on or for you to be able to easily update. Seme you've worked on a project and you want to store it somewhere safe so that when you lose your laptop or you lose your computer just formats itself, you can easily get to that project. So you store it on something called GitHub. Um, to use GitHub, you have to use a version control system called Git. Git is the heart of GitHub. You have to understand how Git works to be able to use GitHub, anything related to GitHub on your local computer. Like you have to basically understand how do I push my code from my local computer to my remote storage, which is GitHub. How do I commit my whatever I'm working on? How do I how do I get something from GitHub to my local computer? How do I update something on GitHub without necessarily making changes on a project? So you have to understand how GitHub works and how Git works to be able to collaborate with others, to be able to show whatever you're working on with other people, your other employees, other friends that you have. And even at Moringa School, you have to push your work to GitHub so that we, the technical mentors, are able to access whatever you're working on. So I will just show what GitHub looks like. This is how GitHub looks like. Um, there's something called how good. There's something called a repository. This is basically where you store your project. Each project has a repository. You have to create a repository for each project that you're working on. If you're working on a food store, you have to create a repository for that food store. If you're working on a Moringa School website, you have to create a Moringa School website repository to help people when they come, they'll be able to understand this was what was being created, because when you create a repository, you have to give it a description. So every time you're creating a project and you want to connect your local to your remote, you have to use a repository. That is the connecting point. The repository connects your local the to the remote, now using the Git commands. We have said Git is a version control system that does any GitHub related stuff on your local computer. You should always remember that. So, um, maybe the first thing that we can do is create a repo for the project that you're going to work on. So when you come here, when you want to create a repository, you just click on the new icon on your GitHub. When you click, it will take you to create a new repository. So when you do that, you have the repository name. It tells you to give your project a name. You could do outflow or anything. Then here, and and just write an introduction. Your description should be very descriptive of what you're creating. If you're creating a food store, you should describe this is a food store that does this and this and this. Like you should be able, when maybe a prospective employer or me as a mentor, when I come to your GitHub and I want to know this guy is working on this project. What does this project entail? I'll just read the description and get to understand, oh, this project is about this and this and this, without having to ask you really what this project really entails, or having to learn to run the server to get to understand what your project is all about. So we can just write an introduction to web development. Okay, that is not very descriptive. An introduction to web development, um, authentication flow. So you can either choose to make your repository public. Public is anyone on the internet. As long as I have your username, I can view whatever you have public. Whatever repository you create, I can view it. Anyone on this planet, as long as they have your username, your GitHub username, they can be able to see whatever is on GitHub. Private means nobody, unless you have added them as collaborators. We'll see how you can do that. or you have given them access to your repository, they can never access whatever you're doing on that repository. So this is mainly when maybe you are a student at Moringa, we encourage people to make their repositories private until maybe a certain project is complete so that we can evade the copy pasting, or maybe you're working on a project for a client. You should not go showing everyone the code that you are giving a client. So you make the repository private and you only allow them to view your project. But if they allow you to make it private, public, you can easily make it public, because there are those contracts that we sign that does not allow us to share a product that we build with people. So yeah, that's the difference between public and private repository. Then you can add a README file or you can create it on your local computer. The choice is just yours. And now you finally create a repository. So we have created our repository, and this is the repository link we have here. So we'll go back to our terminal and we'll start building on our project. Close this. We're going to use the basic terminal commands, then we're going to use git, and then we're going to build something and push it to GitHub. So the first step is now navigating to where we want to store our project. So we want our project to be on our desktop. We can just write cd desktop. Then we can create a folder for our project. Anything. Out, outflow. Then you can navigate to outflow. So navigating to outflow, we now build our application. Or let's do this. Okay, let's just build it. The prerequisites of building whatever we're going to build today is we have to have a Visual Studio Code, of course. We have to know how to navigate into React.js, Node.js, and MongoDB. Mostly we'll dwell on the front end bit of the application, but if time allows, we can do the back end. But mostly we'll do the front end. So you have to install React.js on your laptop. We'll just navigate to the documentation. As a developer, it's advisable to be so good with documentation. Any framework, any library, any language that you want to learn, the best resource that you can use is their documentation. So when you come to, sorry for the background noise. So when you come to the documentation, you have different steps, but most importantly, you have the installation steps. How to set up a new React project, add React to an existing project. You just choose whatever you want to do. So if you're going to do some practice, this is where you will come to. You will install your React using this documentation. It's on the slides. We will share the slides with you. So when you do that, you now come here, because personally I have React installed on my machine. I will not install it, but the first step is installing React. So how do you create a React app? There are two main ways of creating a React app. You can either use Vite, or you can use the create React app method. So I prefer using Vite because it is very fast to compile. Is a process that it takes for you to compile or to create that application. When you use the Create React app, it takes a bit more time to complete compared to the Byte. So we are going to use the it's right just you just write npm create byte not latest client. Again, you don't have to cram this. It's basically on the documentation. Everything is always on the documentation. You see, you go to your terminal and this is what you write. Everything is always on the documentation. So you don't have to cram the steps that you take when creating an application. So when you do that, it will prompt you to choose the language that you want to use. So you can either use Vue, you can use Vanilla, you can use React, Lit, and all this. But basically, we are going to use React. And here, they tell you to choose a variant. Personally, I want to use JavaScript SWC. In React, we had something called Babel, which is a compiler. Here also we have JavaScript plus SWC. SWC is the speed website compiler that basically makes it easier for you to compile or to convert whatever code you have into a compilable structure. So when you run it on your browser, it will compile very fast and you'll be able to get whatever you have written. So it basically acts as Babel, which is basically a compiler that helps you compile whatever code you've written and make it browser readable. I hope I'm not too fast. So when you choose that, you will be given the steps to follow. They already give you, just write CD client. You write CD client, then you npm install to download the packages that you need. Mm, let's give it time to download. Okay, when you do that, you see you have downloaded the packages that will be useful in your application. Now do npm run dev. This will just take you to okay. What happened sometimes? We'll just, let me go to another. That happens sometimes. Still the same process. I'm not sure why it's not working here, but that is just the development journey. So when you open this link, it will just take you to the Byte plus React because you don't have anything in our application. We just created the React templates. So that is the first step to creating a React application. That is the first thing that you need to do. You have to navigate to your terminal and just do the basics that we have done. Then it will create for you a template that you're going to use. So this node modules is just the code that the library was created with. We have this SRS, which is the source. The source contains, or it's just a path which contains the asset. Assets is where we add our images that we want to add in our projects. If you want to add videos, if you want to add anything, anything that you a document, you add it here in the assets. App CSS, we don't really need this, we can delete it. JSX is the entry point of our React application. Like the way you have a door in your house, the main door, that is where everyone has to go through to go to the living room, to go to the balcony, to go to the kitchen, to go to the toilet, to go to your bedroom and other many rooms that you might have in your house. Just the same way we have app.js, JSX, which is our entry path in our React application. It allows us to easily navigate into various pages. If we have a home page, if we have a career page in our website, if we have a sign up page, a profile page, we have maybe an about page where people can know about what we do. That is where we set all those routings to allow easier navigation to different pages in our application. So that is what the app JSX does. Index CSS is mainly for styling. Git ignore, this is where we add things that we don't really need. You don't have to ever push node modules to GitHub because it is very huge. Anyone that wants to use your project, they can just clone the project. I'll show you how to do that and run npm install to get the packages. So you don't really need to push the node modules. That is why we have it here. Anything that you don't need to have on your GitHub is stored on Git ignore, like passwords for the backend. We have different endpoints that really have two codes that should not be seen by everyone, stored in the Git ignore. Index HTML, basically an entry point. When you look at our application here, you see the title is byte, but you can always change that. So if you want our title maybe to read
Hi, Diana. Are you still on the call? Hi, Diana. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yeah, I
can.
can hear you.
Okay, I think we might have lost Diana then. Let me just try reach her.
Sorry about that, guys. I didn't realize I lost my Zoom. I think it's because my screen had issues at some point. But I'm very sorry about that. I think I did talk to myself for some time. I'll just repeat what I did. So I was um, not sure where you lost me. Anyone can tell me where they lost me. But I will just start from where my screen did freeze. So I think I had created the React app and I was explaining about the files that we had just been created. We have node modules, which is basically code that the library is built in. Then we have SRC, which is the source of different a path that directs you to different parts of the application. The source contains the asset. Assets is mainly where we store our images, our documents, our videos that we want to upload on our website. So if you want to add your image, you can just bring it here and add it here. Then you can upload it on your code when you're writing the code itself. So I said app.jsx is mainly the entry point of any application, of our React application. I also gave an example of your house. You have the main door, which everyone should use to enter into your house and navigate to different rooms. So when you enter into the main door, you can access the living room, you can access the kitchen, you can access the bathroom, you can access the bedroom where you sleep, you can access the store and even the balcony on the other side. So in React, app.jsx allows you to access all the parts of your website. If you have different pages, maybe you have a career page on your website, maybe you have a corporate page on your website, maybe you have an about page on your website, maybe you have all the pages that you have on your website are accessed through the app JSX. This is done through something called routing, where you give paths to different parts of your application. Then index.css is just for styling. Then we have the git ignore, where we write code that we really don't need to push to GitHub. Then index.html, here is where you can easily change your title. If it always comes as byte plus React, but you can change it to whatever project that you're doing. If it's food store, you just write the title, you change the title to food store. Ours, I have changed it to Outflow. Then the package, this is just what will help you in building your code. Then the README is where you write the documentation of what you have been working on. Then write config.js. This allows you to customize different settings when creating your applications. Any question? Could you repeat how to install React? What is your username on GitHub? My username is Mongina Diana. How did you install React? I will, yeah, Michael has shared how I did. But you have to install React and you have to have Node.js to be able to accurately install it. So just try. Depends on how you create it. If you want to create uh, using the npm create React app, which is called CRC, you just write npm. Let me write them on the chat box. But everything is always on the documentation. You just don't have to cram the steps. It is always, you can always find it on the documentation. There are two options. You can use npm create React app, then the name of the project. If you want to call it out, and write out. Then on the create app, it's gonna to dash dash. Then you have npm.
We are not seeing the screen.
Sorry. Can you see my screen right now?
Okay, I can see your screen, and I was requesting if you can how did you started the editor from the terminal?
Okay.
Maybe after installing the React, how did you start the editor?
It's still the same process. I'll just repeat. We navigate to the desktop where the project is. Our project was called outflow. So when we navigate to that, when we do this, we have the client which was created when you run npm create vite at latest the client. Now the client is what will name our project. So when you cd client and run npm install, and now npm run dev, which is not really necessary because we've already done that. When you want to now access the VS Code, you just do code dot -r.
Okay, my question now, after running those commands,
Yeah.
yes, I'm seeing on my side. Is it acting like a server, or I just exit the terminal and then code dot?
It's a server. When you just write code, it automatically opens the VS Code. You don't
No,
have to exit.
I'm
Yeah.
saying after running dev, after npm running run dev, then the terminal does not take me back to the to where you can
Oh,
code dot.
oh, I see what you're saying. So when you run npm run dev here, right?
Yes.
So it gives you this. If you want to go back, just do Control C on your desk, on your keyboard. Control C, it will take you back to where you are. Then you can now open your VS Code. Does that work on your side?
Okay. So it's okay. So you exit the terminal.
Yeah. You don't exit the terminal. You just revert back to where you are by doing Control C. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Ni kama unarudi nyuma pale ulikuwa before you run the
Okay,
server itself.
understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anyone with a question? Anyone else with a question? Okay. So we can. I use -r to ensure that it doesn't open a previous project and the project that I am in. So it could open, maybe desktop has various application, or maybe my VS Code was up. If I open without the -r, it will not replace your project. Itafungua tu on the same project, or it will open all the folders on desktop instead of opening the exact project that I want it to open, which is the client. That is why we have the negative R. I hope that is clear, Eugene. Okay. So maybe we can continue. So this is how we create our React app, and these are the this is just a template of what it comes with when you create a React app. So the next step is you're going to create pages to this React app. Pages are just different. Ni kama ukienda in a website, how you see there's a career page, there's a about page, there's a career about us page, there's a login section, there's a profile. So that is what we want to create in React. If you have questions, please do ask. The first step that we do is creating a pages folder where we'll store all the pages that we need to create. When we do that, we'll create a file. Maybe you want to create an about page. Every React page or component should start with a capital letter. Again, JSX is an extension to tell the browser that we are using React and not HTML and not JavaScript or any other language, but it will tell the browser this is a React application that is being built. So so every time you create a page, you have to create its component inside. So the shortcut to this is just writing RFC, but you have to have a few extensions here to be able to easily navigate when creating. The first extension is auto rename tag. This will help you to, by the way you have written RFC, which is the React functional component, it will automate, like it will know this is what you want to create and it will auto create it for you. Instead of having to write export default function, it will just automate it for you. We have the EST React, which also does the same thing. Just makes your work easier when navigating, when working on a React application, this one. Then we have Copilot. Copilot is just used to help you chat. It's like ChatGPT, but you have to pay for it. We have Prettier. Prettier makes your work look easier, look neater. So every time you save your work, it makes it look neater. It's a code formatter. It makes your code look neater when you write it. Then now we'll be using Tailwind to style our project. So we'll have Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. This helps you to automate the Tailwind commands when you write them. I will also share those extensions that you might need. In the revised version of React, you don't have to write import React, but as it's complaining, so you can just delete it because it is automated. Like the application already knows React app. So inside you can just write h1 about. Let's create a number of images. Anyone with a question? Not sure. Okay. Jesse, please mute your. Do you have a question? Okay, thank you for that. So I want us to create an about page, maybe a home page, a profile page, a sign up, and a sign in page. But we'll just create the sorry. So when you come here, you just click on the pages because that is where the page. You just click on the pages, then you right click, create a new file, create another file called maybe the home.tsx, which is another page that we want to create. Again, you just write RFC, which is React Functional Component, that will help you create the structure of that page. Then inside here, you can just write home page. Then maybe you want to create another page, just do the same. Here maybe you can write a profile. Well, let's just do the sign in. Always remember, any React component should start with a capital letter. So let's create a sign up page. When you do RFC, the React functional component, it will give you the structure. And now here, we just do H1. Sorry. See the automation that comes with auto rename tag, which helps you to easily automate whatever you're doing. So it saves you time also. Then you can just do the sign in.tsx. RFC and remove this, it's not necessary. And you come here, write H1. Just that is how you create pages, different pages in your React application. So you can just do this, then you keep improving. If you have things that you want to write on the sign up, you now come and write them here on the sign in, on the home page, in the about section. Just keep developing your HTML from here. That is the web structure from here. But we will create now the routing so that we can be able to see what I was telling you. Up.jsx is mainly the path or the entry point to these different pages. You have to start from here to be able to navigate to the home page, to the about page, to the sign in, and to the sign. So
Sorry for disturbing.
you're not disturbing. Please go ahead.
So I was requesting if you can go back to show me how you can generate the logic, automatic generation of a logic.
The RFC.
Yes.
Okay. You use an extension called, you have to have an extension called ES7, React, and Redux, and you also have to have the auto rename tag. Let me just do this. Auto rename tag. You have to have this installed first, and the ES7 React and Redux, this one installed, so that when you come here on the about and you just write RFC, which is just a function, how you create a function in React, its React functional component, it will give you this structure. But you can also write it yourself. You don't have to be lazy. So you can just write export. Uh, the screen has frozen again. Okay, let me quit, then I restart. After running npm run dev is just to open the server. I will run it once I have the pages up. Then we'll see how you navigate. Okay, so instead of writing RFC, you can just write the code yourself. That is export default function. This function has to have something here, which is about the page that you are creating. Then after that, you do this, you return something. You always return the HTML. If each one of the about, if there's something I've written wrong. Sorry. Yeah. So you don't really have to run the RFC every time. To better practice, you just write it yourself. So you write it from scratch. That's how you can get to learn more and understand better. So maybe we can just do the routing so that we get to understand how we can easily navigate to the different pages. So in React, we have something called, maybe just delete everything here because we need to create our own. In React, we have something called routing. Routing is what helps us navigate different pages in our website. Like if I want to go to the sign up, if I want to go to the sign in page, if I want to go to the home page, if I want to go to the about page. And we have something called the browser router that is stored in the React router DOM, which is a library in React that helps you in the routing process. So the first thing that we have to do is let's first generate the how this app.jx will look like. It's export default function function. The function is app. Okay, we're creating the app. Then after this, we open and do a return. The return has to have something that it is returning, which is where we add our HTML. So the if we return hello world, h1 hello world. Yeah, so this is how it's not happening. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out why this is not open as it should. Let's just do this. So this is our app, and we want to create maybe you can have just a hello world here too. When we run the npm run dev, we'll be able to see the hello world now, not in our index.html, but in our React application. Let me try and run on the other terminal. Yep. My application is actually working.
Hi, did we lose Diana again? Oh, you're here. Okay,
Sorry about that, guys.
it's all right. Go on.
I can't share my screen. Do you mind giving me the rights?
Say that again, please.
I can't share my screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, so I was saying my application is actually easy. I just closed my VS Code and it worked. So when you do this, you get the hello world here. Actually, imekuja hapa katikati. But yeah, that is why I was saying JSX is the entry point of any page, anything in your React application. This is where you'll create your routing so that you are able to easily navigate to the different pages that you will create. So now we want to create routing to these different pages that we have. And the first thing that we have to do is import the library. we use for the routing. So it's called browser. When you just go to the documentation, you'll be able to see all this information. So it's not really something that you really have to cram, as long as you know when you create an application, you have to start with the pages. After creating the pages, you have to create a routing for them. So how does routing work? You understand how routing works. The rest you can easily find on the website, on their documentation. So the first one is routes, then you have routes. So when you do this, you are importing them from React router, the, the library that contains the routing, that does the routing in React. Sorry. Okay. So let's first create how do we now create the routes in here in the app, because this is where mainly we are creating the routing from. So the first step is creating. Now we'll do this first. We'll delete all this because we don't really need it. The this content is created on the different pages. So the first thing is writing the browser router. Then this closes everything in the routing. Um, then inside this, we now create the routes. The different routes. Routes ni nyingi ziko under. There are many routes in one routing. Like so in the app we have different routes. We have the app about, we have the home, we have the sign in, we have the sign up. So here we'll write the routes, which is in caps. This will enclose each single route. That is how it works. So here is where we'll create our path. And path is equals to, if you want to navigate to home, then you can now create an element which is equals to the page that you want to create routing to, which is our home. And you have to have a closing and this is how we write it. Oh, this one you don't really have to close it this way. Sorry. Just do single closing tag. So here you write route. Like the route has a single, we don't have to write route on both ends. That is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So this is how it should look like. You first write the browser router, which holds everything in the routing. Then you write the routes, which is also holds the routing. Then now the single routes for every page. Then now the route is where you pass the component that you want to route. So if it is the home page, it doesn't have to go anywhere. So it is the main page. That is where we navigate to, or every time that we are on our website. So that is why we have it like that. So to ensure that this doesn't have this error, we have to import this home page on our app.jsx. So how do we do that? We just write, we get in which path is the home page in our application. It's on SRC on the pages. So that is where we'll get it from. So you just import home from the path. So it is basically SRC pages. On pages we have home. You see it automatically gives you where you can easily find them, and when you do that, this error inapotea. So you can just do that for all the pages that you have. Um, so if you have the sign in, maybe about, and give it about. So this is where you'll navigate to get the about page, because you can't all give them a blank navigation. When you have the sign in, you just try to sign and the sign, to add the sign in page here. So just the way you had named your pages, that's how you should write them here. So when you do this, you can also paste it again and change it to sign up. And here you change it to sign up. So you have to again import all these pages here to the app in the app.jsx, so that they are able to eliminate these errors that we have. So we'll do the same. We'll just interchange whatever page that you want to add. You don't have to keep writing, you can just do the copy pasting. Advantage of being a developer. About, from, about. We have sign in from the sign in page. So it's just repeating what you have done. It's not something difficult. Sign up, then sign up. If I'm not rushing too fast. Yeah, so here we have created the routing. Let's see what error we have. This is sign up, the sign in, the home, and the about. I'm trying to figure out why it's not running. Also, if you have white eyes, you can tell me. Don't be afraid.
Diana,
Yes.
I have a suggestion. Could it be because you mix lower cases and upper cases?
Where exactly? Here.
In the sign up and the sign in, Is this kind of different? The orange one and the green part.
Here,
Yeah.
for this one, it is just how you will call them on your browser when you want to navigate to see if the routing is actually working. So this one doesn't have to look like this. The problem could be if I name these pages differently from how I named them when I was creating them. But thank you for that. Or I have to use double quotes. That will be the problem. Anyone with a suggestion? I don't think that is the problem. Maybe let me try to run an error. Just give me oh shit. Uh-huh. What could be the problem? Could be a small error that we have. Just I'm trying to figure out just a moment. Mhm.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I think the first import on line one, it has a colon at the end, and the others do not have semicolons at the end. Look at the first import on line one, it has a semicolon at the end, but the others do not have semicolons. Would that be it?
Okay, we can just add one string. That's not a problem. Mm-hmm. Everything is very correct. Is it important React router down from this? I'm sorry guys for putting you here for too long.
Did you install the React router? No.
Yes, I think I have it. Let's just see. That could be the problem. I think it was not installed. Okay, let's try and see if it runs. Close. I think the problem was we had not installed it. Yeah. I'm very thank you for that. That's why it was. But thank you for that.
Welcome.
So okay, you can easily go to the about page now that you've created the routing. You can easily go to the sign up. Just change here. Sign up. You can easily go to the sign in. Yeah, so that is what we called routing in React. And that is how programming works. You'll get a small bug and it will take you the entire day to just solve something that you had missed, even like a comma. So, but I'm sorry about that inconvenience. Do we have a question up to that point? Any question? Michael, do you have a question?
Oh, yes, I do. I was asking, do you know any tools that can be used to debug React application or
I
errors
can't
like
hear
only,
you.
do you know of any tools that can be used to debug React applications?
Pardon?
Yes. Now, Lisa,
Yeah?
like a AI co-pilot, you can
Yeah.
use to back.
Yeah, you can use it if you pay for it. You can easily use it to debug because you'll just copy the problem that you are having and it will give you maybe solutions, different solutions that you can be able to try and just help you solve whatever it is that you're facing. Yeah, so you can easily use the AI, but you should not be too attached to it. You stop thinking. Anyway, so we have created the routing and we have created different pages. So maybe we could create a header so that we can be able to see all these pages in that header. So let's create the header of our website. We want this header to appear in all the pages for, in all the pages. So it should appear in when you click the about, the sign in, the sign up, and even the home page. So we will not create it inside this, we'll create it inside here so that it appears on all the pages. When you insert it hapa ndani itakuja kama router. The way tumeona, we have to navigate to different pages here by writing hapa juu ndio tuende to different pages, but now we want all these items to be within that header, like all these items zikuwe na hiyo header hapo juu. So we don't insert them here, we just create the header page here. At first, we have to create it as a component because it is a component on its own. We create a component folder, then we create the file called header.csx inside that component. So of course we'll just do the template that we need. Then inside here, we'll create now the header itself. I hope we are all following. Now, every time you're creating an application, you have to know a website it has a container itself. So there's the main container and now the container of the components that you're creating. So this is the main container. This is where everything in the application will lie. Hii page tu tunaona in a main container. So every time maybe you're creating something, you have to have that main container, which is just use a div to represent the main container. Then inside now you create the container for whatever component you're creating. So our main container is that one. Then inside the main container, you can have a div that will now create our header inside. So we will create we can start with maybe a logo, maybe a H1 that has outflow on that. Then up and down here, you can have inside this container, you want it to have items, different items. You can have about, you can have sign up, homepage, now sign in. That is what you want the header to have. So we have something called ordered and unordered list. Ordered list ni zenye ziko na bulletin. Unordered as in they don't have those to bulletin. So you just use the unordered list to create our items hapo ndani. So unordered list is represented by UL. The UL will have now the items that we need, which will use the LI to represent them. So what we first need is a home page. So in our header, we need, this is the first item, which will be the outflow. The second item will be the home. The third item that we want to have in our header could be LI, the about page. The third one, LI, you can have a sign up. You spell the word sign up. And again, you can have another one. We're just creating the pages that we have the sign in. So these are the items that we want to have in our header section. So we can come and add this header page to our app. Always, anything that you want to be seen on your website, on your website, you have to add it on the app.jsx because this is the entry point of everything. in your React app. So we have to add this header here so that we are able to see it on our browser. Let's remember that, and of course we have to import it here so that it's able to be displayed. So when you come here, you will see these items. We have created the outflow, home, about, sign up, and sign in. Where is this coming? I will check and see. Mhm. Okay. Anyway, we have already created now is also we want to ensure that they align on a particular how the way we see items on our website. We have the navbar section, and within the navbar is where we'll have these items, which is our header in this case. So we want these items to be well aligned in a row instead of them aligning the way they have aligned themselves. So that is where our styling comes in. So how do we go about that now in our development? But I will use Tailwind. Tailwind is easier to navigate and easier to understand too. And I'll just do it within this canary. So when you're using Tailwind, you'll have to use every time you want to style something, you start with class name. So we will give that header a background, how we want it to look on the background. Maybe you can give it background. Maybe select is like a blue that is not so blue. Yeah, so when you come here, you'll see. Let me see if the tailwind is. Oh, we have not installed Tailwind. So let's do that. Go to the documentation again. As I said earlier, the documentation will help you navigate anything that you want to navigate. So if you want to use Tailwind in your application, you just go to your browser, write Tailwind, provide. It has all the steps that you need to follow. So the only thing that we'll have to do is you install Tailwind and its peer dependencies, then generate your. So when you run this, it will generate for you a file called tailwind.config.js. This is where everything that you need for configuring Tailwind in your application will be stored. So you just run this first, then you run the second bit. You don't have to cram it. It's there for you to always look at it every time you want to use it. Then when you move to the next bit, you again copy this just to check the package for Tailwind. So this should create for you a Tailwind file, so where we should add every template. So if we should add all the templates or all the paths to to the template files that we'll need to use Tailwind in. So if you are using JavaScript, or you're using TS, TypeScript, or you're using JSX, which is React for JavaScript for React, and how we write React, the extensions that we use for our React application, sorry, and TSX, the extension that we use when you're using TypeScript to write our React application. So this is what we'll add in our tailwind config.js. That is the file that has been created. You see, when you run that, you get this file, and inside this file is where you'll add this. Whatever we have, this will allow you, every time you create, you add a tailwind styling, you'll be able to see it on your website when you run the server every time. So this is how you add the paths to whatever file you want to use Tailwind in. Then in our index.css, we'll have to just add this, which will act as directives to allow CSS, Tailwind to be our primary styling language. Yeah, that is what we do. Again, all these steps are just on the documentation. They give you what to do. You don't need to cram it. As long as you understand whatever it is you're doing, everything else you can find on the documentation. So when you go back to our app, to our header.jsx,